Hello and welcome back to our series on getting started with JavaScript. In this video we'll be covering how to work with arrays and objects. So first let's just create a new project file. So we're going to go new file, video2.js, and I'm going to close this one and I'm just going to clear the terminal by typing in clear. Now I'm going to close the Explorer and let's look at arrays. An array is a collection of values that are stored in a single variable. To create an array in JavaScript, you can use the square bracket notation and separate the values with commas. So for example, I could say let numbers equals, and then I have square brackets 10, 4, 6, and 3. You can access elements in an array using their index. The index is the position of the element in the array. Array indexes are zero-based, so the first element is going to be index 0. So this 10 is index 0, then it's index 1, 2, and index 3. So we can log this out. First, let's just log out numbers. And if we run node video2.js, we're going to see we get our array here. But now, if we want to log out a specific one, I can log out the 10 by saying numbers, and then using our square brackets again, and put a 0 inside. And here I get that single element 10. So I can go to the 4, which would be index 1. I can get the 6 by saying numbers index 2. And I can get the 3 by saying numbers index 3. But now if I try and access index 4, I'm going to get undefined because there's no element here. I can also access certain properties of this array. So for example, I can console.log numbers.length. And this is going to give me the length of the array, which is useful for if we want to go through each of the elements and iterate through. There are several methods available for manipulating arrays in JavaScript, such as push to add an element to the end of an array, unshift to add an element to the beginning of an array, pop to remove the last element of an array, and shift to remove the first element of an array. So for example, here what we can say is numbers.push 5, and this is going to add 5 to the end of the array. So if we console.log numbers, we're going to see we have a 5 on the end. The other one to add an element was unshift. And then this adds it to the start. Then we can do pop, which is going to remove the last element. So here we're just going to have 10, 4, 6. And that's what we have there. And we have shift. So that's going to give us 4, 6, 3. Another useful method is the splice method. So this is going to remove elements from an array and insert new elements if we want to. So it takes in 3 main parameters. The first one is the start location of the items that we want to remove. So I could say 0 to start at the 10. And then the delete count. So I'm going to say 2. And then any elements that we want to add in afterwards. So we could say 4. Add in the element 4. And then here you see it's taken out 10 and 4 but added in 4 again. So if I change this into 7, you'll be able to see it a bit easier. Yeah. So we've deleted 10 because that's the index 0, and 4 because we're deleting 2 items. And in this place, we've added in 7. So let's now talk about objects. An object is a collection of key value pairs that can be used to store data. To create an object in JavaScript, we can use curly braces and specify the key value pairs using colons. So for example, I could have let person equals curly braces, and then I'm going to say forename is going to be John, surname is going to be Smith, and age is going to be 32. And notice here I have the key, which is forename, surname, and age, and I have this colon separating it from the value. And then if I have multiple elements, I need to have a comma at the end, and I need to have a comma to separate each element, but I don't need it at the end because there's no more elements. So now what I can say is console.log person, and this is going to output the same information that we entered in here. But then I can also get person.forename or surname or age. So here, if we log out person.forename, we're going to see we get John. And the other way we can do this, instead of accessing it with a dot, is we can use the square brackets like we did before. So we can say square brackets, then quotes, and then forename. And this does the same thing. This also allows us to modify elements of the object. So we can say person forename is equal to Harry. And then if we log this out, we're going to see person forename is Harry. And if we see person as a whole, we're going to see forename is Harry, surname is Smith, age is 32. And we can also edit the forename with a dot again, like we did before for logging out. If we wanted to add in another element like favorite color, we can say person.favoritecolor is equal to whatever the favorite color is, blue. And then here you'll see we've got forename, surname, age, and favorite color. If we want to delete a property of an object, we use the delete operator. So all we have to say is delete person.age if we want to remove the age. And then if we log this out, we're going to see we just get the forename, surname, and favorite color. In the last video, we saw that we have while loops, do while loops, and for loops, but we can also use something called a for in loop to iterate through the properties of an object. So what I can say is for let key in person, then we're going to console.log key. And then here we can see the keys are forename, surname, and favorite color. So then if we use string literals like we did in the previous video, what we can do is have something like key and then colon, then we're going to have the actual value. So we're going to have person.key. Let's see what person.key does. Well, here we see we get the keys, but when we try and do person.key, we get undefined. So why is this? Well, it's because when we're accessing properties using the variable key, we have to use square brackets. So we can say it like this. This is because if we use the dot notation, then it's going to look for an element called key, like if we had it like this. That would be what it's looking for. But in reality, we just want the variable key. So if we log this out, then we've got these elements. Now looking at objects and arrays together, there's some useful techniques that we have. So the first one is we can do something called object destructuring and array destructuring. So if I have const numbers is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I can do const A, B, C is equal to numbers. And what this does is it looks at the first element and it maps it to A basically. Then the second element, it's going to map it to B. And then C is going to be mapped to this third element. So if I console.log these out individually, we're going to see console.log A, B, C. Then we're going to see we get 1, 2, 3, which are these elements. And if we do it for more of these, we can get D and E. And we can log those out as well. And we see these. A better way to console.log this out though, we can say console.log A comma B, comma C, comma D, comma E, and this is going to log them all out separated by a space. So this is a useful technique for logging multiple things like this out. What we can also do is destructure the objects. So we can say const person is equal to name John, age 30, and then what we can do is we can say const name comma age is equal to person. Now if we console.log name and age, then we're going to see that we get John and 30. So destructuring helps us to easily extract the data from arrays and objects. Finally, we're going to look at something called the spread operator. And the spread operator allows you to easily merge or expand arrays and objects. So for example, if we have const numbers 1 is equal to 1, 2, 3, and then we have const numbers 2 is equal to 4, 5, 6, then we can console.log a new array, but inside here we can say numbers 1, numbers 2. And this allows us to easily merge the elements inside of these into one. So here you're going to see we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because we've taken the elements in numbers 1 and numbers 2 and combined them together. We can do a similar thing for objects. So if I could say const person1 is equal to name John and age 30, and we say const person2 is equal to occupation software developer. And then what we can do is console.log curly braces and then person1 comma person2. So now if I run this, we're going to see we get name John, age 30, occupation software developer. And obviously what we can also do is have a variable for this. So we can just say const complete is equal to that. And then we can console.log complete. So that's all for working with arrays and objects in JavaScript. Thank you for watching this video. In the next video, we're going to be looking at functions and if statements.